Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today I'm so excited to get into the Wave 2 Autumn 3v3 Championships. That's what we've got in store for you all today. The first event of OP09 that's been streamed on these major championship channels. This is going to be super exciting. The meta for this, and we'll talk about the meta share of this specific tournament later, is wide open. So many different decks with the introduction, the update to the ban list. Very exciting things underway here at this championships. Happy to bring you all of these rounds. First, with the first round, if you're tuning in right now, this will be the first round, first video of these championships, doing unique unofficial commentary, just my own practice on commentary, and I'll have a new video of each round each day as players strive to win the Shirahoshi, the VV, all these beautiful prize cards that come in the One Piece trading card game. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the championships, the decks on hand, and the meta share. So this is what the meta is looking like through their stuff that they got going on. 14 Doflamingos, not really a surprise. If you've heard me on the channel for a little bit, you know that I have said that Doflamingo kind of runs the table in OP09. It is the deck to beat, being very strong. Lucci is the number 2 deck, right? That's one of the decks that can compete with Doflamingo. Lucci almost just as strong even with the recent ban list. With 6 decks each, we've got Black Yellow Luffy, which is in a lot of conversations of the 3rd best deck of the format. Bonnie having a slight resurgence. I've heard a lot of people say, I think Noel has been very vocal about Bonnie being a viable deck in this format. One of the new OP09 decks has made its way into some of the top portion of the meta share. This 6 down here, if you do not know, this is a new entry we haven't seen yet. It's Marshall D. Teach. A lot of people wondering how viable that deck was going to be, and looking to have a very strong appearance. We've got 2 each of Red Purple Luffy, Purple Luffy from OP05, and Nell, and then 1 each of Shanks, Yamato, and Black Purple Luffy. I mean, you already know today's matchup. I'm the only one here that doesn't know what the matchup is today, but the first team that we're going in with is Black Yellow Luffy, Doflamingo, and Purple Luffy for the team on the left side, and then Doflamingo, Black Purple Luffy, and Rob Lucci for the team on the right. So a little bit of diversity through these teams in a sense, the Doflamingos being the only character or leader that is the same through both sides. So if you don't know how 3v3s work, basically you pair up by the 1, 2, and 3, right? The 1s battle the 1s, the 2s battle the 2s, and the 3 battles the 3s. Then best 2 out of 3, whichever team has 2 wins and 1 loss, or 3 wins and no losses, they move on into the next round. They are claimed the winners. You cannot match similar colors, right, on a team. So because they have a mono blue Doflamingo, they can't on their team play mono blue Ivankov, right? Or for the instance of this Rob Lucci team, because this team has Rob Lucci as one of their picks, they cannot have Marshall D. Teach. They can have a purple black Luffy, right, because it's not the same color wheel as the Rob Lucci, but they can't have another mono black leader. All right, so the deck that we're seeing is Purple Luffy. So Purple Luffy is going to be an exciting one here. Oh wait, is it Purple Luffy versus... Ooh, it's Purple Luffy versus Black Purple Luffy. So this will be a really interesting matchup. Purple Luffy being one of the 3 decks, I would say, that people think of in this meta, this OP09 meta, when they say, what are the top decks? You know, part of the big 3. Getting a huge resurgence since the introduction of the new starter decks, right? Starter decks 15 through 20, giving it a huge boost, but also in OP09, having excellent cards that boost up this deck, and especially with the purple black Luffy, it's going to be really interesting to see how those lists differ and interact with each other. Purple Black Luffy, from what we know, we don't have the exact deck lists of these players, but we know that Purple Black Luffy is built very similarly to Purple Luffy, right? Has a lot of the same inclusions in a couple different aspects depending on how they want to do their build. There are some unique changes, and we can talk about those once we see them. But one thing that we do know is Purple Black Luffy has many more boss monster type characters in their deck, having many more options. I feel like when I see different lists, not only because they can play stuff like the 8-cost Gecko Moria, right? That card that runs rampant in all black decks is definitely present in this one. So looking forward to this match to see exactly what we've got underway, what both of these decks are built around, and how they interact with each other in here. If you're unfamiliar of Black Yellow or Black Purple Luffy, I'm sorry, keep wanting to say Black Yellow, Black Purple Luffy, and what its effect does, I'll read it to you real quick. Dawn ×1, all of your characters get +1 cost, so very similar to the starter deck Black Luffy. But it also has your turn once per turn. When 2 or more Dawn cards are returned to the Dawn deck, you add up to 1 Dawn card from the Dawn deck as active and add 1 more as rested. So very nice being able to re-ramp yourself. Very strong, and also get some stuff back when you're putting 2 or more Dawn cards back. So this deck usually a lot of times focused a lot on these -2 effects that you've got through the deck at certain stages of the game, and we'll see how often they appear in this one. So who is going first? I don't actually know, and we haven't seen starting hands yet from these players. It looks like they're just about ready to go and get this started, probably waiting on some of the other players on their team. But looking at the Purple Black Luffy's hand, you've got this interesting Zoro, 2 copies of them that we haven't really seen before, and I'll read them to you in a moment. You've got the Sanji that we know from OP07, very strong. You've got a Usohachi there, that is that 2k counter, and then you also have Gum Gum Giant right there. So that Zoro is interesting. On play, you can return 1 or more Dawn cards from your field to your Dawn deck and add up to 1 Dawn deck as active. So being able to proc your leader effect a lot earlier and being able to ramp even more with both leader effect and this Zoro. This Purple Luffy right here has got that Trafalgar Law Searcher Onami right there. You've also got the secret rare Luffy, a Sanji, and a Eustace Captain Kidd. So before we get underway, looks like a pretty interesting hand on both sides. I just want to remind you all before I forget, I am re-watching the official live stream. So if you want to see the official live stream for yourself, maybe you want to listen to the official casters, don't want to hear me yap, feel free to click the link in the description below as always. But let's get into this one. Looks like the Purple Black Luffy is going first. Very nice, especially because you have those 3 cost Zoros. Those Zoros going to be really nice to play on curve, I would imagine. And so we're off, and it looks like Purple Black Luffy going first, not having anything, just gonna pass and draw it off to the Purple Luffy. The Purple Luffy right here might be playing that Trafalgar Law to start things out. This Trafalgar Law, very nice for the deck, being able to help you search for different key components. It's reveal top 4, add a Straw Hat or Heart Pirates type of a cost of 2 or more. So right there, those top 4 being Sanji's and Eustace Captain Kidd's, you're going to be able to grab any of those, as most all of your deck, I believe, is probably Heart Pirates or Straw Hats. So passing off the turn right there, not anything more to do. Gonna go into the Luffy and play that Zoro, like I mentioned. Gonna play that Zoro, probably going to return 2 into the deck in order to get that leader effect off. And so right there, already going to 4, but not only being able to play that 5,000 power character that Zoro provides, also being able to swing 7 right here into the Luffy's life. So Luffy on the left side is going to take that, going to pass off the turn, grab a 2K Frankie, which will be nice on the defense, and move to 4. Maybe interesting to see them use that leader effect right here, go up to 5, play the Eustace Captain Kid, but they found a Zoro Juro here. So do plans actually change? They do need to ramp 1, I believe, still, so they do need to go to 5, I think. Or no, I'm sorry, they are at 4. They just did that before. Oh, do they? Yeah, they do need to go to 5. I was going to say, I'm not crazy, right? And just going to be swinging 5. I think this solidifies that they're going to be playing the Eustace Captain Kid blocker right here. Just going to establish some defense on this side, especially as these 5,000 power characters are coming down. So moving now into 6 Dawn turn, going to be grabbing that 7 cost Sanji from the starter deck. So very nice card being able to be played right now. Going to give some rush if they return 1 or more Dawn to their Dawn deck. And again, just doing that same thing, like I mentioned, they have a couple of these characters, the Zoros, the Sanjis, and that's just the beginning of these different characters that can do 1 or more Dawn cards, put them back into the Dawn deck, and use that leader effect to re-ramp, or in the Zoro's case, go up in Dawn. So going to be very curious to see what they do on this turn with 6. 6 is a little bit more awkward of a number. You don't want to play those Uso Hachis, but they're going to start out by potentially swinging 5 at lead. So maybe trying to bait this Eustace Captain Kid blocker, trying to get him early, right? That's what I would think that this player is trying to do. Get this Eustace Captain Kid rested early and then blast it with this Zoro right here to be able to take a knockout, establish board, control it a little bit, and really put the pressure on later as you play these different characters. I would imagine that this Black Purple Luffy is going to be playing that Zoro Juro again, just like they did in the last turn. Or it's not Zoro Juro, it's just Zoro. My apologies, still learning these OP09 cards. The Zoro that they've got in hand to be able to ramp up even more. Don't really have enough Dawn because of your curve to play that Sanji as of yet, but you will be able to in the future. But still deciding on this 5. I bet they are really thinking about what is going to happen here, but with a decent amount of counter in hand, even if they do go ahead and try to blast this Eustace Captain Kid after playing this Zoro again, you might be able to get out of it already being 1,000 ahead. So going to be using that Zoro effect and leader effect to bring that Dawn right back, and so you've got 5 active Dawn that you can utilize in this one. So wouldn't surprise me, yep, they're just gonna go ahead, swing 10,000 I believe at this Eustace Captain Kid. And so are you going to commit all of the counter to be able to keep this guy alive? You might. You're going to need 3 different counter cards, 2 2Ks and 1 1K. Looks like advantage is definitely probably on the Black Purple Luffy right now, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Going to pitch an Onami, a Sanji, and a Franosuke from their hand in order to keep that Eustace Captain Kid alive as they move into 7 Dawn now on this 7 Dawn turn. So picking up that Zoro Juro right there might be very nice if they're looking for another key piece like that Luffy Taro that came in these starter decks as well. There's a couple different options about what they could do. Looks like they could play that Sanji, and I think I misspoke actually. That Sanji, that 7 cost, doesn't come in these starter decks. My apologies. It comes in OP09. Almost forgot about that, so my apologies again. First OP09 matches for me right now, but going to start out by swinging this 5 at the Zoro here, and it looks like maybe taking a knockout. Looks like they may give that up, but they're just going to pitch a Uso Hachi instead. You've got a couple 2Ks in hand, only 5 cards though. One thing about this is you haven't had the card advantage like the purple Luffy on the left side has. If you're the Black Yellow Luffy, that could be coming up if this game lasts even longer, but is going to use that 7 cost Sanji that I was mentioning earlier. That 7 cost Sanji, when you return 1 or more Dawn cards to your Dawn deck, the character gains Rush and you rest a 6 cost or lower character. So going ahead, swinging at that Zoro, taking that knockout, right? Not getting more counter cards out of the hand, and then using that Useless Captain Kid on the aggression to take that knockout and wipe the board. So a very good turn for that purple Luffy as they get another Gum Gum Giant right here. Might be something that they actually want to play right now. It looks like they're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards right in their deck so far, and so you could use the Sanji right here. You could play that Sanji, get Rush, maybe rest the Trafalgar Law if you want to, put some Dawn back in your Dawn deck, and leave 2 Dawn up for the Gum Gum Giants. The Gum Gum Giants will be very nice to be able to draw cards from your deck, and so going to be attaching to, going to be swinging 7,000 at what looks like the Useless Captain Kid, trying to force another 2K out of the hand. You did get 2 2Ks earlier, so you're like, all right, this will be very telling of my opponent's hand. Is there another 2K hiding inside of it? And there is. Going to be pitching this Sanji, it looks like, off of the 2K, and just going to be using that 7 for the Sanji, and so going to be putting 2 back in order to get this leader effect going off. Going to stick at 9, but going to have 1 active, so it's going to be a decision of whether or not they want to attach the 1, swing 8 into the Useless Captain Kid or the Sanji, or leave that 1 up for the Gum Gum Giant. So they only have 4 cards in their hand on the left side. We'll see. If I had to take a guess of what you should do, what should you do? I think you should definitely attach the 1. I know we have the information to know, right? Like, there's no 2K counters in this player on the left's hand, but as the player on the right, you've already seen 4 cards, right, be used as counter, 3 of them being 2K. So you got to imagine right here that if you swing the 7 at the 6, they're going to need another 2K, or you're going to take a knockout. So it's just going to all depend, especially on these turns. Maybe the Useless Captain Kid is going to be the better of the 2 to take out, right? Because especially as these purple Luffy decks, right, both purple Luffy and purple black Luffy get higher and higher, they're going to be playing these cards like that 9 cost Luffy there, and so being able to have that Useless Captain Kid on field is going to work out. It looks like they did use 2 1K, so no counter left whatsoever in hand. We have pitched all counter as this purple Luffy on the left side, and we're going to be drawing into our next turn now at 9, I believe, in this. So 9, going to be able to play that secret rare Luffy if you want. You did find a Sangoro, which is very, very nice. If you do not know that Sangoro draws cards in the deck, you could be able to play a Sangoro Zorojuro combo, maybe go a little bit wider on your 9 Dawn, but we'll have to see after this 5K swing is countered out with another 2K counter. So honestly, on the right side, still also, also 4 cards in the hand, so they do have that 1 up that I think the player on the left is worried about. That 1 up is most definitely going to be for a Gum Gum Giant. You know, if you're playing against a purple Luffy deck, right, it is no secret what that card is. Very common to play that one, but is going to start out with a 6 now at life, maybe trying to proc this event card early, right? I would imagine that this purple black Luffy is saving this Gum Gum Giant event card for the Sanji, right? They are going to maybe be trying to take out this Sanji, right? Because you want the board control and you want more characters on the field than your opponent, and so maybe just trying to bait at this point of what it is. So after taking that life, going to be another 7,000 at the purple black Luffy leader. This 7,000 swing is going to either take 2 counter cards, right, a 2K and a 1K, or is going to take another life. And I think the interesting spot right here is the purple Luffy player is trying to see, okay, how much do you actually want to commit to this Sanji, right? How long do you want to hold on to this Gum Gum giant gavel? So it'll be really curious to see when he decides to do this. He is going to take the life right here, a Black Maria, nice 2k counter, and that secret rare is going to come down, the Luffy. So on play, you may return one or more Dawn cards from play to your Dawn deck, and then you draw one card, giving that Luffy rush. So again, one of the big reasons that Luffy, OP05 Luffy becomes so prevalent in OP09 is cards like this. Cards like this Luffy, this Sanji, more access to these rush cards in the deck, which are so strong. And so that 9k, or I'm sorry, the 10k swing of that Luffy is just going to go at life right away, kind of putting this black purple Luffy on the ropes right now. And so the black purple Luffy is going to go into the turn. Is going to be a little bit tough if you want to ask me, because you know you've got a ton of swings coming your way from the opposing side unless you take some knockouts right here. And so the math is going to be tricky. It's going to be a little shocking when they find out that there's another 2k in the hand, another 2k and a 1k. But what card are we looking to put down? I did not see it. I was too busy yawning because it's 6 in the morning. I've started recording this early for you all because I know how excited everybody is for these OP09 decks and these championships, including myself, but is going to start out with just one and use the Trafalgar Law. So maybe just looking at this top 4, trying to find a 2k in here. You do find a Sanji and I think an Usohachi, Sanji being the more valuable of the two, if you ask me, because the ability to potentially play that in your turn if you end up doing something like a Kaido or anything in the future. So going to grab another 2k. That's 4 2ks in hand and 3 Gum Gum Giants. So the final turn defense could be so strong for this black purple Luffy, but will it be enough? So kind of mapping out exactly what they want to do. You want to start taking out some of these characters, right? But you also want to play characters of your own. You want to keep a pace in this game. So what does this purple black Luffy do? It looks like they're going to start out swinging 6, and we'll see if it's at this Eustace Captain Kidd or the life. But maybe taking that back, thinking of the different options, thinking of the different things that the player on the left, and man, it's so hard when they're both playing purple Luffy, am I right, everybody? But the Luffy on the left, what they could do in response, what are the odds that those cards in their hand are counter cards as well? And it's going to be a 6 at the Eustace Captain Kidd, and unfortunately just continuing on this game plan of swinging at characters and not life. Just a perfect amount of counter cards in this Luffy's hand on the left side. So there's a 1k counter, going to be a nice 8 going at that Eustace Captain Kidd. They did leave one Dawn up, so maybe fainting the idea of the Gum Gum Giant, but we know as viewers and being able to see their hand, there is no Gum Gum Giant in the hand. So is going to be a quick knockout right here. You don't have enough counter to keep that alive, and going to be playing 6, just going to play one of the Sanjis. You do want to keep pace with the bodies right here, and even though you're paying the full 6 on this Sanji, you need some blocking going on, and with only one Dawn open right now, going to be a really tough defense, I think, for this, especially with the top deck being another secret rare rush Luffy. So 2 10k characters are going to be on the field more than likely at the end of this turn. Some of the math that you can do on this one is you can go 6 with lead, at leader, try to force out a 2k or something of the sort. You go 7 with the Sanji, right? The 7 with the Sanji would be nice, and then go ahead and you go all in with these secret rare Luffys. Now, I will say on here, you do have to -1 on the play. So if you're worried about, oh, you don't want to do the Dawn minusing effects, do not worry. You would be able to use that without any sort of issue. So We'll see exactly what they try to do first. I would imagine swinging the 10k Luffy that you have on field right now before anything else is what you should do at this point. I think one thing that a lot of One Piece players can learn and kind of figure out in situations like this, right? You know, they've drawn a lot of cards. Probably you saw them grab 2k. How many more do they have in there? How many Gum Giants do they have in there? You could use that 10 to really test the waters and see what exactly is going on with potentially the opponent's hand. But I wonder, especially in this meta with the Gum Giants being so prevalent in these purple Luffy decks, is almost like testing the waters not a good idea against the black purple Luffy, right? Because if you use the Gum Giant, right, you use the Gum Giant, you draw 2 cards, you net 1 card on that play with that draw 2. So especially with the counter cards, like how many more counter cards can you grab off of the Gum Giant? It looks like they're going to be attaching 1 and swinging 11. I do like this play. This allows your opponent to really maybe struggle a little bit with the idea, maybe commit more cards. They're going to have to commit the Gum Giant that you assume is probably in their hand, right? That puts them up to 9. Give you a 2k as well, but that only puts them up to 11, so they're going to have to commit another counter card on top of that. So I do like this play. This is a very interesting idea, and thinking a little bit about it does look like it pays a lot of dividends. So we'll see exactly what they try to do. Maybe you try to use that Gum Giant right there. Use that Gum Giant to potentially draw into a 1k, maybe not reveal too much by pitching 2 2ks and over countering. So we'll see how this goes on. And so they are going to do that Gum Giant. Remember, the Gum Giant is a Dawn -2. You can discard 1 card from your hand. Going to be another Gum Giant right there. Give plus 4,000 and then draw 2 cards. With the leader effect, though, the leader effect on the Luffy is only your turn once per turn. So if you're curious of why the Dawn didn't come back from the Gum Giant through the leader effect, it's because of the leader effect is on your turn only. So this being technically the opponent's turn. And so now we have to decide on this 11 what other cards we're going to get rid of. So thankfully drew a 1k in here, not going to have to reveal too much, but is thinking about maybe pitching 2 2ks. And maybe the idea of pitching the 2 2ks is maybe trying to tell your opponent that you have a ton of counter in hand. And so using the Gum Giant for maybe the Onami, and is going to do the 2 2ks. Okay, very interesting a spot at that point. So we'll see exactly what this player tries to do. There's 2 different things, and it looks like they're going to be spreading their Dawn potentially instead of slamming down that Luffy. I do find that to be very interesting. You feel pretty good, I feel like, with 3 life at this point and a little bit of counter power in hand, or well, I guess you only have 1k counter, so maybe you're worried that you're gonna find all bricks in life and no counter power in hand. So not going to be playing that 9 cost Luffy, but maybe playing that 4 cost Zoro. Juro is going to start out by swinging a 9 at lead, and so a 9 right here is going to try to pop the couple cards right here. It's going to be 2 2ks and a 1k right there. And so if they go all in with this leader or the Trafalgar Law, going to swing 7 with this Luffy leader, going to block right there, and the rest of it, are they resting 4? Are they not going in? Oh, they're not going in. They're playing the Zoro Juro. Wait, huh? What are you worried about? Hold on. Wait, why didn't you swing with the Trafalgar Law? Wait, you have 5 Dawn left. The Trafalgar Law is 2. You could have swung another 7 at lead, but it looks like that they're just going to be taking the card and passing the turn. Elongating this game, would I have done that? Ooh, I don't know. I mean, you wanted more counter, right? Because you just now got a 2k counter and you feel really good, at least. Now you feel pretty secure about being able to potentially win this game. getting the 8-drop Gecko Moria off of this. The Moria is not really having a ton of value, though. I feel like only being able to play a select amount of cards in your deck, being the Zoro, right? The 3-cost Zoro that we put down in this one. The Onami, that Onami that we're getting, I believe, in the starter decks, could potentially play that as well, but not a lot of other great characters right now. And so going to be swinging at life right here, going to be swinging a nice old 5, is going to be prompting the 1k counter that you've got in hand. And so again, now at this point, feel pretty good. Don't think you can lose right now. And so going to be swinging 7 right here, going to see if they can take a life. They will be able to take a life. Maybe they were swinging at the Sanji. That's my apologies. The Sanji on Sanji violence, just going to be a 2k counter out. And so this Gecko is going to play that Onami right there, and that Onami only. And that's the downside that I think with these kind of purple-black Luffy decks that we're kind of seeing with the inclusion of Gecko is having to play the Onami, or I'm sorry, having to play only one character off of the Gecko if you haven't seen the Trafalgar Law, the little Trafalgar Law babies in the deck. So going to be moving off to that purple Luffy on the other side. It looks like going to be a victory, I would imagine. Just go ahead and continuously swing, I feel like, at the lead. And so going to be swinging this 10. They do have a blocker on field with that Onami. That Onami is a blocker, so going to have 2 Dawn up with that. And so going to use one, going to go ahead and pitch away the Trafalgar Law in their hand, still have that 2k counter, and go ahead and draw 2 cards. Going to be a 9k swing right here. And this 9k swing, going to have to pitch a little bit more with this 10k, is going to just give that 2k right there. And with that, swinging this 7, nothing left in the hand right here, blocking with the Onami, swinging 7 with the Zorojiro, and is going to take that win. Purple Luffy showing off its strength in this deck, getting the victory. But we'll see if there's any other matches that are going on with this tournament. Where there was the other best of 3 rounds over? No, the other best of 3 rounds weren't over, and it looks like they are going to be showing the final match. It's going to be Doflamingo versus Rob Lucci. So this is a match that you're going to have to get used to in OP09 if you're looking to play either one of these decks, arguably the 2 more popular decks. And if you remember from my Market Watch video the other day, the cards that you should buy from OP09, Kaku. I'm telling you all, Kaku is making a resurgence in purple, or not purple, in black Lucci decks. The black Lucci decks are starting to play this Kaku back as a 2-of in their engines. So again, just like I mentioned, make sure that you got your play sets of Kakus. It's going to be a very similar card to what it was in like OP06, you know, OP07, I'm sorry, OP07 when this leader first came out and we were first starting to play him. But looks like they're defending against a swing right now. It looks like that no matter what the outcome of this match is, the red team is going to advance the team with the Doflamingo. And so Lucci doing a little bit of board clear right now, and that's exactly why Lucci still keeps up inside this meta, especially with a heavy Doflamingo meta, is because the Rob Lucci, even with Enies Lobby banned, can still get rid of a lot of these Doflamingo cards, being able to take out 4s relatively easily. So going to be playing that Span Dam, going to be grabbing a Tempest Kick and using the Tempest Kick to draw 1. Let's see what they minus right here. I guess it doesn't really matter. You don't really have any swings left, so whatever you haven't minused already, right? If you minus the Law earlier through the Lucci leader effect, do want to minus that Jinbei right there. And so you've got 6 Dawn left. What are they going to play on 6 Dawn? Going to be a Rebecca right here with 4. So we'll see if they have a Spandime in trash. It looks like no, they're going to have a Khalifa coming out and being put into hand. We don't have hand cam, so we don't exactly know what's in their hand, but off of the play is going to be playing down that Brook. So after the Tempest kick did the -3, the Brook is going to take out that Jinbei. Maybe not as good as Spandine and the Rob Lucci combo that we see through Rebecca that a lot of people think should be banned, but the Brook is a nice consolation in being able to do what you want to do. So with 0 life left, the Rob Lucci on 0 life, the Doflamingo has 3 life. He is not worried at all, but is a little bit worried at this point, maybe thinking of trying to go all in with 2 swings right here. Doing the math, 5 and 5, going to be a straight 10 and 10. Going to be a nice block right there. The Doflamingo swinging and is going to take the win right there. So team on the left side, the red team, going to be absolutely sweeping through this other team and advancing into the next round. What was the other matchup? Then I actually forget. Was it Black Yellow Luffy? And so it was. So the matchups, in case you were wondering of how the results went in the 2 matchups, before we look at example deck lists, the matchups in this one, it looks like it was Black Yellow Luffy winning against Doflamingo, Doflamingo winning against Rob Lucci, and Purple OP05 Luffy beating OP09 Black Purple Luffy. Very exciting game. That was so fun to watch, in my opinion, with the 2 kind of new decks in the metagame. I think we can call the Purple OP05 Luffy like at least a revitalized deck, right? Has so many different changes, has so many more new options that give it so many different strengths. But let's look at some sample deck lists. So we don't have exact deck lists from this tournament as of yet. It is just literally right after the tournament ended because I just woke up. But this is pretty typical to what we see for a lot of Purple Luffy lists in here. There's a couple different options that we're going to talk about that are more like tech cards or more of deck style choices that we see in this deck. But the main engine of this deck revolves around stuff like Luffy Taro and Zoro Juro, right? Luffy Taro being able to cheat out a different character, and then the Zoro being able to find a character and put it in hand provides for some very, very strong combos, especially when you have other search options like this Trafalgar Law. Some excellent attacking options in the Sanji right here, the OP09 Sanji we saw very much utilized in this game. The secret rare Luffy, right? Also a very, very good card in this one. And the Sangoro right here. We didn't really get to see Sangoro, but if Sangoro does get to attack after it's played, it can draw a ton of cards, can be very strong for the Purple Luffy deck. And then the Gum Gum Giant kind of being the conversation, I think, through a lot of this game for both sides, really, even though we didn't see it from the winning side. The Gum Gum Giant is a excellent card, being able to not only draw cards but also use for the defense for some counter powers. So excellent stuff going right here. Uses Captain Kidd, as I've mentioned time and time again, just a good card that is usually always included in these purple decks. The Sanji right here and the Usohachi, part of your 2K counter crew. And then there's a couple different other options that you see within this deck. I think one of them that is in a little bit of conversation is Magellan. So most all of these Purple Luffy decks that you see don't play Polly anymore, right? Polly is gone once this 8.5 starter deck comes out and OP09 with all of these different great inclusions of the deck. But Magellan is the only one really left. Magellan, or Mr. 2, I would say, the Bond Clay secret rare from EB01. Those are kind of the only 2 cards that are still, I would say, tech cards within this deck, right? They're not mainstays, right? This person, at least this sample deck list, we don't know exactly if that person was playing Magellan's, but Magellan being a very good card, only as like a 2 of in the deck. So we'll see exactly as time goes on and through this tournament what other options we'll see in the decks. But before we go, I know you all are curious to see what a purple black Luffy deck looks like, so let me get you this one right here. So purple black Luffy, again, here's the card. Again, everybody gets +1 cost, and then when 2 or more Dawn are returned to the Dawn deck, bring 1 back as active and 1 as rested. You have a lot of different options in this deck, in the stuff that you want to do, especially with the Gecko. The thing about the Gecko is it forces you to play some of these more awkward cards, right? Those awkward cards being this blocker Nico Robin, getting a little bit of limelight in these decks usually, and then also the Beppo right here. This Beppo being an interesting 2K counter option if you had to pitch it on the counter before and you need to bring something back through the Gecko Moria, right? Just shoving that card in any deck that is black. Different to the OP09 Luffy, right? Not a ton of these starter deck cards in this deck, and instead from OP09 playing this Zoro, especially on that 3 Dawn turn, and working very well for your leader effect. We saw in that one being able to effectively ramp while also getting 2 Dawn back on the combo as active. So Roronoa Zoro being very strong, I feel like, in this one, and a couple different other cards in here that people love to see. You've got this blocker Frankie right here, kind of being almost like a wall deck, it seems like, with all these different blockers, Straw Hat blockers in the Robin, Frankie, Onami right here, but being just as aggressive with different characters in this one. The 9 cost Luffy, right, being in that deck, the 10 cost Luffy being an option, Kaido being an option, and also whoops, that's Gum Gum Giant, the Gecko Moria. We did see from the person on stream that was playing this deck, they were playing the 7 cost Sanji. So if I had to take a guess, you could probably take out one of those 3 boss monsters that I was mentioning before. You could take these couple ones out and maybe slide in these 7 cost Sanjis if you're looking to change up the deck to be as close as possible to the tournament. Don't worry, I'll have a video soon showing off OP09 decks and what we're seeing, especially after these tournament results come in, and what you can do in order to start building those decks. But thank you again so much for watching. Hope you enjoy this. Again, it'll be a new round each day, so make sure to subscribe to see tomorrow's match as well. I'm gonna get it out as soon as possible. You know, 7 a.m. Pacific time is when videos come out on this channel. I don't have exact days usually of when they come out, no regular schedule, but if there is a video, it's going to be first thing in the morning at 7 a.m. Thank you again so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next round. What is the next round, actually? Hold on. What's the next round? Ooh, the next round is going to be a Doflamingo team, right? Doflamingos, Rob Lucci versus Black Yellow Luffy, and then Red Purple Luffy and Marshall D. Teach. So I hope, this is my hope, I hope they show the Red Purple Luffy and Marshall D. Teach match, because I think that one would be very interesting, right? I don't really care to see the mirror of Doflamingo, and I don't really care to see, you know, Black Yellow Luffy loop the Sabos and the Lucci not being able to do anything, right? But the Marshall D. Teach, that's the one that I want to see. But again, we'll see you in the next video.